All right, last one before lunch. And I have to say, we want to be so grateful that we have state representation here from elected officials from state of Maryland. We have State Senator Watson, and then we also have Representative Keith Ammon from New Hampshire. And we've got Tamara, are you ready to join us? Are they too busy negotiating some deal? Hello? You guys solved for all state problems? Come on in. We're going to take a few minutes now for what we're calling a fireside chat. I do think, by the way, we need to give special kudos to Senator Watson because it is election week and he has kindly allocated his time to come out here. So please listen and pay attention to his words very carefully. Okay. Last one, guys. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Sandra. It's a pleasure to be with everyone here today. My name is Tamara Zeidan. I am the Director of Innovation at the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking, DISB for short. It's a pleasure to join you in the nation's capital, a city that continues to position itself as a hub for innovation, entrepreneurship, and emerging technologies. Under the leadership of Mayor Bowser and our DISB Commissioner, Karima Woods, we're committed to fostering innovation, supporting economic growth, and engaging with innovators to ensure that new technology can thrive while maintaining consumer protection and market integrity. Today's panel, Local Rules, Global Impact, Accelerating Digital Innovation in the States, explores an increasingly important reality. While federal policy often captures the headlines, states are playing a critical role in shaping the future of digital innovation. We're fortunate to be joined by two policymakers who have been at the forefront of these efforts. I'll allow our panelists to introduce themselves and share a brief background on their roles.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Senator Ron Watson. This is my 8th year, and as she said, we have a hard election coming up, so I have to leave you promptly. But I serve on the Energy, Education, and Environment Committee in the State Senate. Everything this past session has been all about data centers and energy. I also serve on the state's Joint Committee on Cyber, IT, and Biotechnology.
Excellent. And hello to everyone in the audience. My name is Keith Ammon. I'm a state representative from New Hampshire. I've been in the legislature 10 years. I started talking about Bitcoin and blockchain back in 2015 in the state legislature. And I'm also on Commerce, and I'm the majority floor leader in House leadership.
Well, this is a very exciting conversation and timely conversation to have. We're living in a period of extraordinary technological change between AI, blockchain, digital assets, and emerging technologies. Innovation is moving at a very rapid pace. This question is for both of you. From your perspective, is this an exciting moment for policymakers and regulators? And how does your government keep pace with innovation while ensuring that we're doing so responsibly?
All right, it is an exciting time.
Yes.
So I come from a software development background, and it's probably the most exciting time to be in that field because you get so many new cool tools every week, something new comes out. But when you're in the legislature, you're dealing with, especially in New Hampshire's legislature, we have a true citizens legislature. So there's 400 of us and people from all different backgrounds and experiences. And so it is a challenge to, because in politics, fear travels faster than the truth, right?
That's right.
And that's what we're seeing right now is people are getting very upset. They're hearing a lot of doom and gloom about what technology is going to do to them. But I'm an optimist. I'm a techno-optimist. If you look back through the history of the development of technology, sure, there are periods of disruption, but we're always better off on the other side, once we get it figured out. So that's my perspective, and we try to spread that through the legislature, getting ready for good policy making.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very, very, very exciting for me. My background, I have a PhD in system science, and actually got my MBA here from George Washington University. But technology for me has always been exciting. However, we have a lot of Luddites in Maryland who do not want to see technology move for fear of what could occur.
But none of your constituents?
Well, there are a few of those as well. There are a few of those as well. But the thing is that there's so many opportunities. It is a very, very exciting time.
Right.
But it's very hard to, change is hard. Change is hard. And when it comes to technology, you have your early adopters, you have your laggards and those types of things. I've found fewer and fewer early adopters of technology. And in the legislature, what we found when it comes to something as complex as technology, you literally lose a year because you have to conduct a study. You have to take people from diverse backgrounds and you have to level set and put a baseline in place. Then you can start talking about legislation. But before you do that, talk about data centers. Oh my gosh, folks have gone crazy over data centers because they don't really understand the implicit connection to artificial intelligence, what it means, and the potentials that could be derived therefrom.
So for the industry in the room, I'm hearing fear, right? I'm hearing lack of understanding. So there's an opportunity to kind of bridge that gap and make sure that regulators are informed. So it's really important that industry engages and informs regulators on the factuals or the facts when it comes to emerging technologies. I'd love to highlight a little bit about the benefits of emerging technology, the opportunities that innovation presents, and the challenges that it can solve in your communities. So would love to throw that out there too.
Well, let me talk about blockchain,
Yeah.
because last year when I came to my first GBBC, I was just enthralled with what blockchain could do. I immediately went to work because in Maryland we have a problem with squatters. And I was able to successfully pass a bill to put all real property transactions into the blockchain. Because our thought was, if you get pulled over by the police, they ask you for a license and registration. And they're able to go into a Maryland a motor vehicle database and tell exactly who you are. But if you go on vacation, come back, and somebody's in your property illegally, now you have to go through the courts, and you have to get a hotel room for a while. And my objective was, if we can put this immutable record in place that law enforcement had access to, and you can prove that you are who you say you are when the police show up, they should immediately be able to evict that person who is illegally in your home. We also passed a bill to look at blockchain technology as a whole, specifically for efficiencies in state and local government. We have to save money. We have to find out ways to do more with less. And I think blockchain and the other technologies, are the path forward. And we have to embrace these and really look to figure out how we can really exploit the technology.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just looking backwards, we've had a lot of successes in blockchain in New Hampshire. One of the first states to do a money transmitter bill. We were, I think, the first state to pass UCC Article 12, which is controllable electronic records. We established a DAO Act, and some of it's friendly competition with states like Wyoming. We have a stable token study commission going on right now, studying the issue as you were just alluding to. We were the first state to pass the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Act. We just passed a bill last week out of the Senate going to the governor, protecting self-custody. So we're doing a lot of stuff in this space. But as far as looking forward and trying to impart the benefits, we have something called the Emerging Technologies Caucus in the State House. And just the other week, we had an AI expert present to a bunch of legislators on how AI can be a force multiplier, how it can level up everybody in society, make people more knowledgeable, more effective, do more things, right? And how that could benefit the economy. So it's that trying to keep things positive. For some reason, people attracted to government, when their first thought when they hear about a new concept is how can we regulate it, right? So we're trying to prevent that from happening and having some success in that.
Thank you. So as regulators and policy makers are engaging with these technologies and identifying frameworks that are not only responding to the market, but also protecting consumers, how are you keeping up with the pace of technology evolving. So obviously regulation is a little bit behind, just a little bit, from the innovation that we're seeing. How do you find that balance between consumer protection, keeping up with innovation, and then responding to market needs with regulatory clarity?
It's been very challenging because right now, representing Maryland, we're in a reactionary mode. Now, we have to be honest. When Doge hit, there were a lot of government jobs lost, and a lot of folks who were put back on the street, those folks who were, in their 50s and their 60s. And to think that we're going to give them this quick course correction in blockchain and AI, it's just not going to happen. And unfortunately, we still project approximately 30% of jobs to be lost, knowledge workers, as the technology continues to advance. And we do not have the capacity to absorb these workers into state and local government. We just don't. And so that is probably the biggest challenge that we as Marylanders, in the General Assembly have today, because we were really, really impacted because so many people have moved to Maryland and DC and Virginia because of the close proximity to the government, for jobs and opportunities. So that is a very big challenge that we continue to have to face and continue to try to work around. But when I said reactionary, in the state legislature, I said I serve on the IT biotech committee. For the last couple years, it's all been on the improper use of AI and deepfakes. How do you keep somebody from appearing as you, saying something that you did not say? And how do we protect children in school from that same type of technology? We literally have had kids who have committed suicide because of bullying online using AI, right? And so we hear about these problems, now we go into react mode. We have yet to really be proactive and really talk about now what are the benefits. And that's what some of my legislation sought to do. The reaction mode, blockchain, real property. Proactive, let's look at blockchain. Let's look at what's in that book of all the use cases that GBBC puts out. And let's see what can actually be leveraged or tailored in state and local government to improve life, for each and every Marylander.
It's an unfortunate reality with the deep fakes, and it's
Oh, yeah.
horrifying to hear realities and negative effects that it can have.
That's right.
Yeah, so just listening to the conversation right now, I worry that too much safetyism is coming into our society, that we're, if you look at the 3 words on the tagline here, you can look at it positively or negatively, right? It's like risk and reward. You have to take risks to innovate and find new opportunities, but it could also be a reason to not do something. We could fall off a cliff because there's no guardrails, so don't do it, right? So, and so on with the other 2 terms. But how do we let society somewhat self-organize? And education is the key for consumer protection, right? And the senior population, the youth population, really education is the foundation of all that. How can they protect themselves from bad actors in those spaces? How can they recognize, when someone's trying to exploit them, but not have so much safetyism that we stop innovation? And our state motto is live free or die, not live safe or die. So I always remember it's the freedom aspect, and where you have freedom, you have innovation. Those 2 things go hand in hand, right? So I kind of let other people worry about the doom and gloom scenarios and try to focus on the optimism, how it can help prosperity for our state, right? The new financial system, these new innovations.
I'll worry about the doom and gloom for you.
Yeah, thank you. But so, maybe that's a little Pollyannish, but somebody's got to have that perspective, right? There's plenty of doom and gloom out there. So,
But somebody mentioned it a little earlier, and it really is a really good collaboration with industry partners who take the opportunity to inform the legislatures.
Yeah.
Even when it came to energy and the challenges we have with data centers, I requested, and we did to some extent, over the interim when we're not in session, we have a 3-month term, we were given many courses in energy, in generation, in reliability, in quality assurance, and all of these things so that we are better prepared I didn't know when I became a legislator I had to get another degree. But the information is so dense,
Right.
and it requires study and to really do a good job and be able to articulate and understand the nuances, of these things. We had a conversation back door. What you're in right now is a grid called PJM. PJM is a 12-state grid, including DC, and right now Maryland, which has very few data centers, right now is subsidizing every data center in Loudoun County, in Virginia, in Pennsylvania, and Delaware. That has caused, energy rates to rise, right? And so what we had to do to accommodate is ensure that new data centers that come in, one, they have to use recyclable water. Two, they have to bring their own generation, right? And now we're working at the federal level with FERC to see how can Maryland not be penalized or have to pay, help subsidize data centers in other regions. It is very complex and goes back to years and years of regulatory and deregulation and those types of things. But the average person doesn't care about all that history. What are you doing today to lower my rates? All right? What are you doing? And those are really tough questions to answer. And as a legislator, especially during campaign re-election season, it becomes very, very challenging. And so the education aspect is what I don't want us to forget. You guys are the experts. And many times when you speak to folks, you don't assume it, but it kind of comes off like you expect us to know what you know. Mm-hmm. But we don't. We're very far from it. Remember, we got educators, law enforcement officers, and those types of folks who have now become state legislators and now are required to make these really, really tough and nuanced decisions, and we just frankly can't do it without you. So I appreciate, the support that you give to your legislators.
Definitely worth an applause. So as these emerging technologies are navigating this uncertainty, and they're trying to figure out, how to navigate and at the state level, what advice would you give them? As this uncertainty, and you mentioned that stablecoin is something you're working on, a year use case and studying. So in this period of transition and research, what does the innovator do?
So get to know your lawmakers. It's all about relationships, right? Even inside the legislature, if you're a jerk, you're not going to get anything done, right? So it's all about relationships with your lawmakers. Reach out to, in a particular state, there are certain lobbyists firms that have knowledge in these areas that can help translate what you're saying to what the legislator's saying. The state university system. In New Hampshire, we have an older population. And what I would like to see is a thriving, emerging tech economy that young people want to stay and come to the state for, right? So you're worrying about the future prosperity, but you got to get through the moments, right? It's still the art of the possible in the moment. So, and that boils down to relationships.
Relationships really, really matter. I worked on a bill related to staking with Coinbase. But you got to understand, they say all politics is local, all right? And so if I represent an area where the median income is slightly below the nation's average, how many people actually own digital assets? And those that understand digital assets are quick to tie it into, the president's meme coin, Elon Musk, and now it becomes a bad and negative thing. And now they just close their minds to the potential of what digital assets, non-fungible tokens, and those types of things can provide. And so what we need holistically are the positive messages, the real world instances where this technology and its use has helped people, has improved lives, has improved the quality of life. Because at the end of the day, that's what we are elected to do, to improve the quality of life of folks. But the perception and the vitriol that we find ourselves in today really, really makes it very challenging to get that word out of how good and how powerful some of this technology can be if properly used and properly cultivated.
There's this thing about data centers and AI now that we're talking about. If you've been in the legislature long enough, you see these moral panics kind of come through the legislator. vaping causes popcorn lung. I don't know if you heard that in Maryland, but that's what we heard about vaping is popcorn lung. Right? It was like, so these moral panics come through, and we're definitely in one right now. And I think it's incumbent on our policymakers to not just ride that wave of moral panic, because politically it's expedient to do, right? If you're worried about getting reelection, you want to please the mob, but you're not doing good policy. You're not thinking long term for your state or your federal government. So encourage your lawmakers that you have that are your allies to kind of weather those storms as they come through, because that's better for steering the government than doing everything based on emotion and moral panic. So.
I want to plug in the Office of Innovation, which is the office that I lead at the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking. This office was created to build dialogue with industry and make sure that these conversations are being had, relationships, engagement. There are other states I've seen have replicated this effort. So just be aware that many states have offices of innovation specifically designated to having these conversations, to bringing in innovators, to educate regulators, and making sure that the regulatory frameworks are in place, because we do, I can speak on behalf of DC and would love obviously your feedback, but we want to see innovation. We want to see companies coming to DC, and we want to make sure that they have the regulatory clarity to move confidently and in a responsible manner that's not only innovative, but it's also a consumer's protection is in mind as well. So I would imagine you feel the same way. Right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Let me just also put the quick plug in the time we have left. My regular job, I am a supply chain risk manager, so I was happy to listen to the prior folks. And in looking at supply chain risk, not just from hardware, software, but I work for NSA. NSA is a huge enterprise. We have hundreds of thousands of pieces of equipment that we cannot see compromised by our adversaries. Now, the challenge we find ourselves in, the executive orders come down from the president to go as fast as you can with AI, because we don't want to lose this AI race against some of our foreign adversaries. Now, that puts a challenge on us to not just implement large language models, but we have to secure the supply chain. And now what we found out, because these open source models come in, you don't really know all the artifacts and what's been embedded inside. There was I think it was a Claude model that was used a month ago by a business, and an agent just decided to delete the entire customer database. Just delete it. Now, if that happened inside NSA, we would be at significant risk. And so on a day-to-day basis, my job is to look at how we are examining AI models, how we are large language models, how we are examining foreign models that the agency may seek to use, and how do we ensure that agents don't spawn other agents to move things out of the containerized environment that we have those things in, and do things that we don't expect. We don't want things to drift over time. Where do we put the human in the loop? This is so much more detailed than regular, look at the software, is there any malware? And folks don't get it. But we have built a significant workforce just focused on AI to move at the speed and the pace that we're being directed to from the White House with respect to AI. So it is a significant challenge, but again, there are significant opportunities if we do this and message it the right way.
Absolutely. By a lightning round, what gives you optimism about the future of innovation in America?
So America, we have the reputation of being a free country, and you see it becoming free and less free over time, but I am optimistic that this country will figure it out. This balance between a security state and a free state. Right?
Yeah, I just want to see new enterprises spawned, new opportunities for creativity, new opportunities for people to grow and advance, and with AI, you can experience so much creativity, that you normally couldn't do just sitting in front of a computer and just, doing something very, very redundant, day in, day again. There are so many opportunities, but they have to be articulated. I went to Morgan State University several months ago to talk to some students, and they asked me, does my degree really matter? And that really concerned me because I got several degrees, and I had to tell them things change quickly, but the degree is the foundational aspect of your career. And if you have the fundamentals, you are in position to be able to pivot as things change. And I had to let them know a certification today might be irrelevant tomorrow. Everybody can build a website now, right? Object-oriented stuff and those types of things. So I told them to be flexible, but keep learning. Learning is a lifetime thing, and don't stop.
Thank you. I'll leave everyone with one final thought. Innovation happens because state leaders are willing to experiment, engage stakeholders, and create environments where responsible innovation can thrive. I want to thank again Senator Watson and Representative Ammon for their time today. Thank you all for joining us. Please give them a round of applause.
Thank you.